This is a 50 kilowatt PV array installed single-handed. How did we get here? Big new project for this summer. We're putting in an oversized PV array. So the idea is to power the house from a 50 kilowatt array, which sounds like a huge size for a house, but the idea is to be able to produce a decent amount of power during the day, year round. So the array is going to go from this yellow pole nearby to the other one in the distance, about 70 meters. And the problem I've got here is that this hill behind, the sun doesn't come above it for any of December and January. So we're not going to generate much in the middle of winter. But by oversizing, the idea is to have available far more power than you need. You may have to buy some in the middle of winter. The main loads are the usual domestic stuff. Heating is the biggest energy requirement of the house. Also electric cars. So I've mowed the field. Now what I'm going to do is take out, before I get started, I need to get a string line in, but I'm going to take out this screw that I've already put in, which was just a test screw. So you'll see how easy it is to take them out again. Put the adapter on. So it's a bit like putting a wood screw into wood. You know, screws in, relatively hard to screw in, easy enough to screw out again. And if you screw it into a piece of wood, it'll be fine for a century. It's the same with these. It's quite hard to screw in, but easy enough to screw out, but they'll be rock solid for as long as you like. There's no concerns, so long as you've sized it right, there's no concerns about it sinking. Easy. Relatively. A lot easier screwing them out than screwing them in. But it does mean whenever you finish with whatever you're mounting, the whole lot can be removed. There's no concrete left there. The whole lot can be removed easily. And your site is just back to the bare earth that you started with. There we are. Done. Now a little while later, because I had to mow the field and also deal with some dead trees and branches. Obviously can't do much about all these mature trees, but if there's bits obviously going to fall off them, then might as well attempt to save breaking some panels at a later date. There's no accounting for storms and things, so I'm going to put in a string line and make a start on the first row of ground screws. There we are, progress, sort of. Got a big stack of ground screws there, and here we have a kit. This is full frame for all the 120 panels. I collected that the other day, and I've struggled away with these ground screws. So got 5 in using my own machine. These are all carefully measured out. But, it's been a struggle, keep breaking things. This one's not in far enough obviously, but I've got another machine now and hopefully we're going to make better progress. That post there is the far end of it, more or less.
Pretty swiftly discovered that you've got to pre-drill the ground's hard or stony. And in this sequence I've already drilled one long hole. Basically I had two drills, one longer than the other, one thinner and longer than the other, so I would drill a long hole first with a drill about 1 metre long, followed by a slightly wider one. This is me doing that. With a hilty drill, you've got to watch yourself, mind your wrists. It's because when you hit stones, you need that extension bar on, and even that's hitting you quite hard sometimes. It was about this time that I caught Lyme disease as well. I was constantly getting bitten by ticks in the field because of the deer, and one of them went into the classic circles, and I had to have 3 weeks of pretty unpleasant antibiotic treatment. So those are the risks of PV installing. Having drilled the pilot hole, the next step is to screw in the Radix ground screw as far as you can by hand, just to get it to stand up. Now, I was using a workbench to stand on. That's to allow me to work on work from above the screw with the machine. Now, the machine's very heavy. Just about manageable with one person. So lift it into place, get it onto the socket, and then the next step is to fit the torque arm. Now, without a torque arm, it would be impossible to hold the machine and force the screw in, because you'd be having to take all the torque through holding onto the machine. You can see in the foreground there is a strap which is attached to the previous screw. So it's the torque arm that is going to take the torque of the screwing in. Now, it's now a matter of screwing in while watching the bubble level on the top on the machine itself, so that the screw goes in as straight as you possibly can. And that's dictated to some extent by the pilot hole that's been drilled, so the pilot hole has to go in straight, and then you can, you see I'm just pulling sideways on the screw just to straighten it a little. Once you're about halfway in, you can't affect it anymore, it will just go in the way it wants to go. Now, some of the screws were straightforward like this one, straight in without hitting any significant stones, and you can just screw all the way in one go. Others, I was hitting stones, maybe it would keep going, and sometimes I had to take the screw out again and do more drilling. Probably maybe half of them, maybe less, had to come out, and I would then do some more drilling to widen the hole out a bit, break up stones that were in the way. So I'm coming down now to the point where I'll start to look at my marker sticking out of the ground, which is marking the height I want to get to. It would be okay to stop the machine now and have a look and then restart it again, but I think I'm getting all the way in one go here. I'm about to stop it. That's it.
So first row in, well, first half of the first row, because it's two frames of 60 panels. So I'm going to do one complete frame first, although I'll probably put in all the ground screws at this stage. So I've done 11 for the first frame, went very well in the end with the good machine, and then I've squared up for the first of the second row, and I'm going to get that same process, drill a pilot hole first, and then screw in the screws.
Here's another demonstration. So the screws already in by hand, and the adapter fitted on top. Workbench into place, and then I'll bring the machine and get it lifted on top. There's no way I could lift that up to that height and get it onto the socket. It's easier to stand above it like that. I mean, it's still pretty heavy, but you can manage it on your own. So fiddle into place and then turn it around a little just to line up with the torque arm. Slot the torque arm on. I think some of the torque arms with these machines lock on, but it's not necessary, because once it's under tension it's not going to fall off. Now, so looking at the bubble level on the machine so that we're going in as close to vertical as possible. And then a little bit of adjustment as it goes in, just pulling it to keep it level. The torque arm's attached to a strap which is out of sight, so the strap's attached to one of the other ground screws that's already in. By the time you get to about this point, there's no more adjustment possible, because it's just going to keep going in straight. And you can start to hear the machine working harder, slowing down a little. Obviously got to make sure the cable doesn't get tangled. And again, this is one that goes straight in. Others I would get in so far and maybe hit a stone. It would possibly keep going, push the stone out of the way, or I'd have to take the machine off, unscrew the screw and do more drilling. But always got there in the end. Some of them, this is relatively difficult ground, I think. Some quite big boulders in it. But I managed. Now, getting close down to my mark. You can hear the machine slowing down. It's having to work hard just to get this pulled up. Nearly there. That's it. And then it's just a matter of taking the torque arm off, lift the machine off, and the adapter off, and I'm levelling across to the screw next to it. There we are. Job done. If only they were all so easy.
Let's have a look at where we are. First row of 11 is in. Second row is started, and what I've done is I've put two sections of frame together to make sure everything fits together, which it does. Everything is all the nuts and bolts are in hand tight at the moment, and so yeah, just finger tight, but it all fits together beautifully. And I've got all these in. Don't look too closely, because this one here, I think there's a bit of bedrock, and this one's not very well in line. It's not too far off. I think we'll get away with it, because there's a certain amount of slack that you can adjust things with. So, progress. I'm going to try and get the last 6 or 7 of this row done this morning. See how we get on, but if I keep hitting bedrock, it's a challenge. Thundery showers, it said. Bit damp. Alright, progress report. Well on with the screws. I've got all the screws in for the first half of the arrays, because it's 2 arrays, it's end to end. I've got the base plates onto the screws, so they are bolted down, and I've done a certain amount of leveling and adjusting to get them all in perfect line and height. So I'm quite happy with that. So that means that the frames can now be built onto these completely, onto this first half, and then I'm going to, it's not perfect alignment, but there's a certain amount of adjustment possible through the slots in the base plates and slots in the array frames, so that's all going to go together okay. And I'm just working on the last of the screws. I think I've got about another 10 or so to do, so I'll see what I can get done with that today. So here we are. Be forgiven for thinking that the sun always shines in Scotland. So first half of the array is more or less installed, first half of the frame, and I've spent a bit of time in between rain showers doing some levelling and straightening. There's a certain amount of adjustment possible here through the slots. So a lot of the holes are slotted, so you can go up and down a wee bit, and side to side on the feet. There's one of the feet, so some of the feet I've had to go a little bit side to side like this one. So it's pretty difficult to get these ground screws in the absolute perfect position, especially when you've got crazy rocky ground like here. Don't look too closely at this one. There's one that I've had to actually go right off the side. So yeah, not too pleased about that one, but structurally we're okay. It's just not very pretty. So at the moment, all these screws, see there's slots everywhere, slots in these, slots in those, and there. There aren't slots, there's slots in these main purlins as well. So slots in these, and you've got a choice of holes. These joining pieces are slotted as well. So you can see I've got 4 purlins on at the end there. So our next lot of ground screws, I've still got about, well, exactly 8 to do, and some of those ones up the top I can't get in. I'm hitting solid rock, and if I drill, I'm drilling holes right through solid rock, so I will solve that. But in the meantime, sticking to the original plan, which is, there we are, see we've got 4 purlins on this one, which was the first one that I just set up to try it. So I'm going to go along, get all the other purlins on, and then get all my bolts, so 300 odd bolts and nuts in this section. I'm going to get them all torqued up, tightened up and torqued up, and then get panels on. And then the second half of the array, which is the exact same, we've got 2 arrays the exact same, second half, and it's as far along as that wee flag there. Second half is going to be phase 2, which I will get done in the next few weeks, hopefully. But I'm getting panels on this one first.
Bit of detail of the assembly of the frame. This is me putting the purlins on, which is pretty simple even on your own. It's a matter of putting the adapter plates on and slotting things together, doing up nuts and bolts. There were about 800 bolts with this whole kit, So it sounds like a lot, but it goes together surprisingly quick, and it's pretty simple even for one person.
Phase 1 finished. Fantastic. All 350 odd bolts torqued up. Marked them so that I can see they're torqued. Didn't take all that long. The assembly didn't take all that long. Phase B, phase 2 goes up to the flag there. It's the exact same frame, exact same layout, exact same size, but I'm going to have to battle a little bit with some rock under the ground. Look at that, beautiful. So this frame has gone together perfectly without a single hitch. Everything matched up, no problems at all. It's beautifully made, and there's only one fault that I can find. There should be 3 slots in this rail, 1, 2 for that bolt, and there should be a third one here, and there isn't. But I didn't need it. I didn't need any of the third slots, or even the second slots. So if that's the only problem you're going to have, that is amazing. Well, there's the range starting. Got first 4 panels on. Obviously it's important to get the first ones on really straight and correctly positioned, so spent some time fiddling about with that, but it was easy enough. All clamped on nicely. Only another 56 to go on this frame, and then 60 on the next frame. There we are. Nice. So here we are with a few hours digging. It's interesting, we've put up some pretty big rocks. The size of that. No wonder we had some drilling challenges. So now I'm putting the big cables in. I've got power cable and I'm using 2 Cat 5 cables, one for data, one might just be a spare, or I could use it for relay contacts because it's 4 pair. So they're going in. I'm reeling it off the back of my tractor, which is pretty handy. So all good. Steaming panels on an autumn morning. So autumn's arrived. This is what happens when you're busy working on other things. And I'm going to try and get all the frame built in the next few days for the second half. First half's finished and generating. We'll have a look at that when the sun's out a bit later. It's already generating this morning despite the cloud. But we'll see a load of power in a wee bit. So I've got all the bits and bobs together for starting the frame. There's the first half of the array, all working beautifully. So I need to do a bit of setup and get this next bit underway. It's the middle of the day. We've got a bright day but a lot of cloud. Let's see what we're doing. So this is the first half of the array, and so it's 24 kilowatts of panels. What are we doing? Done 9 kilowatt hours today. 2.3 kilowatts. Now, if the sun breaks through a bit, I'll do a bit more. So now the clouds are cleared a bit and pretty much blue sky, full sun more or less at right angles, and it's over the hill, and sure enough we're at full power. When it's sunny and you overrate your array like this, you're going to get solid full power. So that's it, can't produce any more. And that's the idea of oversizing the array. On a good day you'll just get sun, you'll get full power from first thing in the morning till the sun goes down. When we get to December and January, when the sun doesn't get over the hill, we're going to get absolutely nothing. When you've got thin cloud, it really knocks the output and you're down to about 10% of the array rating. And thick cloud, less than that. Now here's a good example of what we're dealing with in the autumn. So sun's shining, but it's only just over the hill. It's about 10 in the morning and it's through some trees. So we've definitely not got perfect solar exposure, but of course it's generating. We get a real-time value here. So it's generating 4 kilowatts currently from a 24 kilowatt array. And let's have a little look at some data. Get data on the sunny beam. I've tried to put it somewhere where the reflections aren't too bad. So running at just over 4 kilowatts, and you can see today's generation going the wrong way. That's yesterday, so it didn't get over 2.4 kilowatts on quite a cloudy day, but it generated up and down yesterday, and that's the last month, which some days we were getting 40 kilowatt hours, which is far more than you would use in a day in a house, even with a bit of heating. But it's kind of demonstrating that there's no point in sizing your inverter to match your solar array. You're better to oversize, because apart from anything else, you've got a limit to what you can connect within your domestic network. Okay, carrying on with installing the rest of the frame today. That's frame 2 built. Have to get the purlins on next, but it's all built and leveled up. It takes a bit of time getting all the legs straight and getting all the levels right, but there's a bit of adjustment possible. So long as you've got your screws in to about the right depth and not at crazy angles, you're fine. It's just worth looking at these screws at the back. You have to get all the thread of the screw in, but you can have the unthreaded part sticking out. But this slope in this field is pretty much the maximum that you could have without having a problem with depths of screws. Bit of a dull day. I'm getting on, all these bolts have been torqued up, and I'm going to start putting panels on the second half of the frame. Look at that, the trailer could have been designed for them, perfect. So I'll start getting some set up, spend a bit of time getting the first 2 right, and then we can shoot along from there. Here's a little cautionary tale. When I bought the panels, I bought 4 pallets of panels. Each pallet weighed 800 kilos, and I couldn't get them delivered to site because of access, no access for a big truck. So I got them delivered to a friend who has a forklift about 10 miles away, and then I had to move them with my trailer. So I brought the first 2 pallets on my trailer and had to unload them. I had to basically slide them off the trailer using my digger and then push them around, and even though I was being careful, I managed to catch the side of one of the pallets and hit the back of the panel. And so I thought at the time, oh, I've damaged the back of a panel. But yeah, properly smashed it. And not only that, so it's up against another one, so it smashed that one too. See how all the glass is it's toughened glass, so it's all crazed. And then, so I thought, oh, I've smashed two. So not only that, but all the way through, smashed a third. So there we are. Completely useless. Dead panels. Fortunately, I've got spares, so there were more than enough. I needed 120 for this array, and I bought 144, which I was planning to use the others for something else. But I also damaged one of the, I managed to hit the side of this box as well, so I'm hoping that maybe I've broken one panel, but I don't think I hit this side quite as badly, and that was me being careful. So yeah, may have lost one or two on the other side too, we'll find out. But yeah, it's 3.2 mil glass, so it's thin. I mean, thinner is better for letting UV through, but it's, you know, that's the thickness of picture glass. I think normal window glass is 4 mil, so it's pretty thin. And yeah, just junk these panels. I mean, the panels weren't expensive, so it's not the end of the world, but it is a bit sad. Now here's the other panel that I damaged. So as soon as I damaged it, I put some polyurethane sealant on it, so it's so that moisture couldn't get in the back, just because I just caught and dinged the Tedlar backing there. And so the front of it looks almost undamaged, but I've gone through the back of the sealant there. The glass isn't broken, so it's still sealed. It might, yeah, you can see the actual wire there is broken, so the cell itself damaged, but only partially. So I bet this panel still works to a great extent. I won't be using it though. Keep it as a spare, or use it for something basic. So in 30 years of installing and working with panels, I've never broken any until these ones, which I did have to struggle to unload. You know, it's a big heavy pallet of panels, 36 panels on there. And yeah, I mean, I even did jobs, I did a couple of big jobs on an island with a couple of hundred panels, never took any spare panels, managed to never break any, and that was on roofs using cherry pickers and all sorts. So just one of those things. It's a bit of a shame. But so 3 definitely broken panels, 1 probably certainly damaged panel, defective, but that's all right. Still got loads of spares. That leaves me with 20 spares, so I'll use them for another job. Good. I should say though, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even until about 10 years ago, panels were smaller, much thicker frames. So, you know, a lot of the embodied energy in a solar panel is in the aluminium frame, I believe. You know, I think the glass used to be thicker, the frames were much thicker and chunkier. Slightly bit smaller, well, somewhat smaller area as well. I used to walk on the panels. I don't think I'd walk on these, but yeah, you could walk or at least slide down them. So yeah, they were probably harder to break, but you know, these are fine once you get them onto the array. So you know, the danger time is during construction. Once you get them up there, they're you know, pretty safe then.
Another little speeded up sequence of the installation on the frame. This time the panel's going on. There's no wrong way to do it. If you've got more than one person, then things are a bit easier, but because I was on my own, I made a wooden jig so that each panel would go on identically and then it was easy to keep things going in a straight line. That worked very well, and I've used jigs in the past for this kind of thing. The clamps go on, and I just used an impact wrench to tighten them sufficiently to hold things in place, and then I went round afterwards and did them up to the proper 20 Newton meters, and you just work your way along. It's pretty quick, no problem.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. It's all frosty and cold. Why is this not finished already? Well, so the first half of the array, this half, has been working for more than a month, doing very nicely. Second half, not connected yet. Look at that frost. You'd think it was the middle of winter, it's only November. But this is the problem we have here, is that the sun just doesn't get over the hill. We're just at the end, so in the morning we get a little bit over there, and then by now it's just going down over behind the hill, then it's behind that hill all day for the rest of the day. So half of November, all of December, all of January, and then get into February and we start to get some direct sun again. So you can spend the whole day without seeing the sun here. But I mean, we're still generating, but from this half of the array only generating, so that's a 24 kilowatt array, this half, and we're generating currently about half a kilowatt, 400 or 500 watts, and I've got the washing on, so it's we're importing more than we're producing. So I'm pushing on, trying to get this other bit working, although with all that frost on it, it won't generate much, but when the frost's off, we will generate something, and then middle of winter will generate next to nothing. So I've just got to try and get my electrics finished at the back, which will take me a day or two. So we'll get there. So a different view of the finished array tucked in here. Interesting point as well. So at the moment, even though the sun's not on it at all, and won't be for the next few months, well, 2 or 3 months, still generating about 5 kilowatts at the moment, so 10% of its panel rated output, and probably generating as much as that wind turbine in the distance there. That's an 11 kilowatt wind turbine, which you would spend a lot more money buying, but of course PV system can't generate at night. Alright, so now you see the winter problem here. Beautiful sunny day, really thick hoarfrost on the panels all the way along. You see the sun's in the trees up above, but it never gets here. We're a week from midwinter, it's -7 Celsius, and still, even on days like this, total generation's never less than 4 or 5 kilowatt hours, but that's not a very exciting amount when you're trying to power your home and your cars and all that, but it's just something we have to deal with for a couple of months of the year. I have to say though, that is a beautiful thing, nicely tucked away. Just the sun doesn't quite get down to it, but that's, no site is perfect, you just have to use what you've got, but it does look nice. So it's midwinter's day. I just thought I'd come out and have a look at it. Now, I may be biased, but I think that blends in pretty nicely, doesn't it? And it's, even though there's no sun on it, the sun on the hill behind, it's still generating. We'll go down and have a look at what it's doing. So as I said, there's no direct sun at the moment. It's midwinter's day as it happens. No sun over the hill for at least another month. But even so, this is a repurposed wind turbine control box. I need to change the labels on it. Still generating more than 2 kilowatts, which is alright considering there's no direct sun. Obviously that will massively improve when there's full sun for most of the year. I'm still not certain about whether to do a battery store. It doesn't really stack up economically because of being able to export power and sell power, but I am intending to install a heat pump for the house, which will use a fair bit of the power. So heat pump first, I can see what we think, and maybe go for some storage. Jury's out on that, but I love this. It's just amazing. Oversize your array. If you've got some space, use what space you can. It's absolutely financially makes great sense, and it's a thing of beauty. No maintenance, just fantastic. Low January sun, and we're at full power. That's what we want to see. This inverter at full power, that inverter at full power, despite low January sun and a little bit of shading. Beautiful.